You are listening to Out of the Darkness by Clarissa Clarke. Last chapter, I'm not going to call it boring because all the writing people say you can't have a boring chapter. You have to have excitement and suspense and keep the reader's interest. In science fiction and fantasy, we also like to have world building. We sprinkle drips and drops of information about the new world and its characters as we go. If we took a bucket of water and dumped it on ourselves, most of the water would end up on the ground, on the sidewalk, on the grass. It wouldn't stick. Our clothes would absorb some of it, our hair would hold a little, but most of it would be gone. I can't take the bucket of information that I have about this new world and dump it on you. It wouldn't stick. It would be difficult to process. You might not get it. You'd quit. You'd be gone. Last chapter was a drip. 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 Uneasy and Slightly Scared. Chapter 4. As a race, the Zambosians spent millions of years in the darkness. We were not unlike other ape-like races in our pursuit of material wealth and power over others. 96,000 years ago, a colony was established on Earth. We planned to extract minerals and fuels from beneath the land, thus increasing our wealth. Our colony was situated in Northwest America with a network of tunnels and caves that worked their way around the globe. Eventually, as humans developed, we became adept at hiding the Earth's riches from them. A nation would only be able to find wealth beneath its lands if we allowed it. This tight control benefited us greatly, allowing us access to large amounts of negative energy created by the greed and desperation of humans. Humans began to hunt us, giving us names such as Yeti, Bigfoot, and Sasquatch. Their minds were easily manipulated, and we often led them into our colony to draw energy from them, thus regenerating ourselves. We would alter their memories so they had no recollection of their experiences with us. To our benefit, these humans would repeatedly return to continue their search. Our home planet, Zambos, you shall see shortly. We have done much work revitalizing it after having spent thousands of millennia at war. Those who remained on the home planet continued our tradition as warriors, helping us grow in strength as entire races were conquered and made to be our slaves. Since our conversion to the light, all slaves have been freed, and we no longer have a colony on Earth. We, Zambosians, have forgiven ourselves for our past actions and now move forward with the beauty of the light. It was a short history for such an ancient race. Reapy watched them closely, waiting for reactions, wondering if they were disturbed by a history that differed so drastically from what they had always known. Alina had decided that the story was a bit boring and had snuggled up to her sister for a nap. At 3.5 years of age, she found a half-hour nap to be okay. Fascinating. That was the word Alec chose to describe the history of the Zambosians. Their world was making more sense, but he still couldn't figure out why he was in it. The question nagged him, making him uneasy and slightly scared. It was followed by a second question. Do I have to stay? With these thoughts running through his head, he watched Verity, wondering what was causing her brow to wrinkle. Verity had listened with great interest. For many years, she had believed that the sadness Rietby carried came from her past in the darkness. After hearing the Zambosian history, she decided she was wrong. It's so deep. Maybe she's forgotten it's there. Verity could feel the vibration of that sadness weaving through her friend's body, varying in strength from day to day. She could help her find the sadness. She knew she could. She also knew that it didn't matter if she found it, unless Rietby wanted it to be found. Alina was snoring gently, and Alec chuckled, startling Verity out of her thoughts. Rietby caught Verity's eye, and a smile spread across her face. She whispered into Alina's ear, "Are you ready to go?" Alina shifted her position but remained asleep. You could take Alec with you. Alec had gotten Rietby's message too, and he looked expectantly at Verity. Okay, let's go. She was out the door before he could even stand up. Where are we going? To find the key. He caught up to her as she stood facing a solid wall. Tricky, tricky, he heard her mutter, as arms stiff, palms 2 inches from the surface, her hand swept repeatedly over one spot. Not sure about that, she continued to herself. Okay, here goes. He stepped back, then found himself leaning closer, staring at her hands. They were vibrating like crazy, and, if he could trust his eyes, the spot where her hands hovered over the wall was vibrating too. You can't see air vibrate, he told himself with a shake of his head. At that instant, a silver key appeared. Huh! I broke the shield! Several seconds later, her hands were steady enough for her to pluck the key off the wall. Handing it to Alec, she declared, Now we can go. What's a shield? He asked, studying the key. A shield's for protection. A cloak's for hiding. She's never shielded it before. The look on his face made her laugh. You have the light. I keep thinking you know all this stuff. Walking back to the breakfast room, Verity explained that one of her abilities was to sense vibrations. I can remember the vibration of anything I've touched. For practice, Rietby lets me hold the key and learn its vibration. Then she hides it somewhere on the ship. When I find it, we get to leave. She reached out and touched his face. I can feel your vibration, she said as Alec's eyes widened in surprise. She grinned. Everything has energy, so it all vibrates. If I know your vibration, I can find you anywhere in the universe. He couldn't hide his disbelief. You'll see, she nodded confidently. Tossing the key from hand to hand, he asked her, Do I have more than one ability? Probably. What about the key? She looked at him in confusion. What is it for? Does it unlock the door so we can get out? It's a fake key. The first time she let me find a real starry key, I thought her hair was going to turn pink. She got so mad when Alina and I flew away. Verity burst into giggles, but Alec was hung up on a word. What's a starry? A starship, but smaller. He really was trying to process everything, but like a wheel in the muck, he kept getting stuck. We didn't really fly the starry. It just kind of jumped. But you should have seen the look on Rietby's face. Verity was laughing hard now, and Alec almost couldn't understand her when she said, Alina just kept pushing that key anywhere she thought it would fit. He laughed with her, imagining Alina with the key. They had to stop to catch their breath, which gave him time to notice Reapy standing in the doorway, hands on hips. For 1 second, Alec thought he would get to see her go pink, but it was a snort that erupted from her, followed by a short laugh. They were my first students, she explained. Everything here was new to them, and they explored with amazing speed. They have never doubted themselves. She nodded once at the girls who were smiling at her. Alina had woken up while they were key searching, and she had 2 small backpacks beside her now. Are you ready to go? Reapy asked him. 1 second. Racing to the library, he pulled the lime green book from a tottering stack and tucked it into his pants. Being out of breath actually made him less nervous as they walked toward the exit. His thoughts tumbled like a kaleidoscope, and he found himself thinking, I'm glad they don't eat meat. You just listened to Uneasy and Slightly Scared, Chapter 4, from Out of the Darkness by Clarissa Clarke. We're moving on to Choices, Actions, Consequences. Chapter 5.